Hi all, this is Anup. Today we will see about AWS Transit Gateway and how to connect two different VPCs in the same region. AWS Transit Gateway connects VPCs and on-premises network through a central hub. This simplifies your networks and puts an end to complex peering relationships. It acts as a cloud router. Each new connection is only made once. A transit gateway scales elastically based on the volume of network traffic. Routing through the transit gateway operates at layer 3, where the packets are sent to a specific next hop attachment based on their destination IP address. In this diagram, on the left-hand side, you can see one customer gateway, 3 VPN connection, 4 VPCs, 5 VPC peering, and 1 AWS direct gateway. And on the right-hand side, you can see the same connections using Transit Gateway. The number of VPC pairings has gone down. These are the steps to create an AWS Transit Gateway. First, we have to create two VPC with the names VPC1 and VPC2. Then the CIDR blocks for VPC1 starts with 1.0.0/16, and for the VPC2 it is 20.0.0./16. And we need to create subnet for each of the VPCs that we have created, and we have to create an internet gateway to give internet access to the VPCs. Then you need to rename the default route table. Then we need to add the internet gateway to the routes. Then we need to make sure that the subnet is associated with the VPC default route table. Then you need to create two security groups, VPC1 for VPC1 and VPC2, and add inbound rule to open port 22 for SSH or any other port that you wish. Then you need to spin two EC2 instance and launch the EC2 instance, and the EC2 instance on the VPC1 should have a public IP, and the EC2 on the VPC2 will have only one private IP address. So here we will see how to connect this EC2, which have only a private IP address, from the EC2 machine that have a public private IP address. Then we need to create a transit gateway. Then we need to attach the VPC1 and VPC2 as attachment to the transit gateway, and make sure that route tables for the VPC are propagated. And also you need to modify the security groups for the inbound port 20 or 80 or whichever port that you need access. Also make sure that the VPC1 is open for the CIDR block is open for VPC2 to have access or to communicate with this particular network 20.0.0 from the 10 dot address from VPC1, and vice versa from VPC2 the CIDR block for VPC1 10.0.0.0/16 should be open to communicate from 20.0.0.0/16 network. So we will quickly go and see how to create the first step, how to create a VPC. So we will quickly go and see the first step to create two VPC with the CIDR blocks 10.0.0.0/16 and 20.0.0.0/16. This is the VPC dashboard. You can click on your VPCs to see the default VPCs or the available VPCs that are available in your location. Click on create VPC to create a new VPC. Give the VPC name and give the CIDR block. And choose defaults and click create VPC. This will go ahead and create the new VPC. Click on create VPC to create the second VPC. The CIDR block is 20.0.0.0/16 and choose the defaults and click on create VPC. So this has created two VPCs, VPC1 and VPC2. So now we will see how to create the subnets. To create the subnet for each VPC, we need to give the CIDR block as 10.0.1.0/24, which comes under the network. And for the VPC2, we need to give 20.0.1.0/24, which comes under the network of 20.0. So we will quickly create the subnet. So we have to click on create subnet, choose the VPC, VPC1, and give the subnet name. We'll give the subnet name as VPC1 hyphen subnet 1 and choose the availability zone and give the CIDR block as 10.0.1.0/24. Here it is, and create subnet. And let's create the second one for the VPC2. So give the subnet name, choose the availability zone and give the CIDR block 0.20.0.1.0/24 and click on create subnet. So this will create the two subnets for VPC1 and VPC2. The next step is to create an internet gateway. To create the internet gateway, click on internet gateway and click create internet gateway. Give the name IGW1 and click on create internet gateway, and this must have created, and click create another internet gateway for the VPC2 IGW2 create gateway. So we have to, if you see the status, it stores as detached. So we have to go ahead and attach to a VPC. So IGW1 we will attach to VPC1. And IGW2 we will attach to VPC2. So now the status has changed to attached, and the internet gateway is now attached to the VPC, and the VPC have now connection to the internet. The next step is to rename the default route table to VPC1 RT and VPC2 RT. We will see how that can be done. So click on route table, and we have the two route tables here. So for the VPC1 we will rename it as VPC1 hyphen route table, and for the VPC2 we will name it as VPC2 hyphen RT. So the next step is to add the internet gateway to the routes of the default route table of each VPC. See, we will quickly see how that can be done. So click on the route table, click on routes and edit routes, and click on add route, choose from anywhere and choose internet gateway, and it will populate the internet gateway that we have created earlier, and click on save changes. Do the same for VPC2 as well. Click on VPC2 route and click on routes, edit routes and add a new route. Choose from anywhere and add internet gateway and add the target as IGW2, which is the internet gateway 2 that we have created earlier, and click on save changes. So this will create the route to the internet gateway. Next, we need to make sure that the subnet is associated with the VPC default route table. This will be associated by default, but we will make sure that it is associated in the route table. So click on the route tables, click on the route table that you have created, click on subnet association and go and see if the subnet has been associated. Subnet without explicit association, so it is by default. So go and check on the VPC2 as well. Subnet association, subnet without explicit association. So it has been associated, the subnet has been associated without explicit. So that is done, so that step is done. Now we need to create two security groups with the name VPC1SG and VPC2SG, and we need to open port 22 if we want to telnet from one VPC to the other. So we will see how the security groups can be created. So we go to EC2 and you can see security groups here. Click on create security group and give the name. Give a description, and this needs to be associated with VPC1 and create the inbound rules, custom, you need to choose SSH port 22 and it should be from anywhere, and click on create security group. That will create the security group. Create one more security group for VPC2-SG, and that should be for VPC2, and the inbound rule should be added. You can add SSH and you can add it from anywhere. The port is open now, and click on create security group. The next step is to create two EC2 instance in each VPC. So the EC2 in the VPC1 will have an public IP associated with it, but the EC2 on the VPC2 will have only a private access, so that when we do the testing, our traffic will flow through the internal network of AWS. So we will quickly go ahead and create the EC2 instances. So we will click on launch instance, select the instance type as T2 micro and click next configure. And here we will also have to select the VPC and subnet, and also this is the first EC2, so we have to enable the public IP, and then we have to click add storage, click next, configure security groups, and configure the security group that we have created, that is VPC1, and click review and launch, click launch, and choose the key pair that we have, click on launch instance. Now we will go ahead and create the second EC2 instance. So the same method we will follow. We'll go ahead and choose EC2 and the T2 micro as the instance type. We will choose VPC2 and subnet, default subnet, and here we will choose as disable and click next, add storage, next, and click on security group and select the security group that we have created in VPC2. Click review and launch, select the key pair that we have, launch instance. So to identify the instance, I am just giving the name as EC2 VPs EC2 VP. So we have our two EC2 instance running. So we will wait for the EC2 instance to spin up. So our next step is to create a transit gateway with the name trans GW1, and also we need to provide an autonomous system number ASN number on when we create the transit gateway. So we will quickly see how that is created. Go to the VPC page, and if you come below, you can see the transit gateway. Click on transit gateway and click create transit gateway. Create the transit gateway name. So if you see here, you can see Amazon side autonomous system number ASN. So you can see these numbers here, so you can give any numbers between this range. So I'm giving the default number. So this is for the internal processing of the network for AWS, and you don't have to do anything else. You just have to click on, you can choose the defaults. You don't have to give a side number here, and click on create transit gateway. So if you see the status, it will show that as pending. So it will take some time for the transit gateway to create. So I will resume this recording once the transit gateway is created. All right, now the state of our transit gateway has changed to available. So we have completed this step. So we will see our next step. So our next step is to attach the VPC, both the VPCs to the transit gateway, and make sure that the route tables of both the VPCs are propagated under the route table in transit gateway 1. So we will see how that can be done. So first we will go ahead and attach the VPC1 and VPC2 as attachment to the transit gateway. So we will go to the transit gateway attachment and create a transit gateway attachment. And select our transit gateway, and the attachment type is VPC, and we choose our VPC ID as VPC1 and rest everything as defaults, and click on create transit gateway attachment. So now we have attached the first transit gateway. Now we will go and create the second one. Choose the transit gateway, and the attachment type is VPC, and choose the second VPC and rest everything as defaults, and click on create transit gateway attachment. It will take some time for it to attach, so we will see. So I'll pause my video here and will resume once the state is attached. Alright, now both of our transit gateway attachment is now in the state is changed to available, and it is associated to the transit gateway, both the VPC. Now the next step that we have is to make sure that the route table of both type of VPC as propagated under the route table in transit gateway 1. So we will see if both the VPCs are propagated under the transit gateway 1. So we can quickly see how that can be done. So click on transit gateway route table and click on the transit gateway. And click on the routes. So here you can see both our VPCs are attached here, so we can see both the CDIRs here, and also the route state is in active. So we have completed this step as well. So we will see what else is pending and we will complete that. Alright, so the last step that we have to perform is to modify the security group to be open for inbound ports for port 22, or if you want to telnet, you can open port 23 or any other ports like port 80. So that ports need to be open. So we will open port 22 and port 23, that's for telnet. And also in VPC1, we should open the CDIR block for VPC2. That is, we need to open the 20.0.0./16 network for VPC1, and for VPC2 we should open the network of 10.0.0.0./16. So this allows the communication for the telnet to happen. So we will quickly see how that can be done. So open EC2 and go to security group. So go to our first security group, VPC1. So click on the inbound rules and edit inbound rules, add rule, custom TCP. So we can add 23. So this is for telnet, and as this is VPC1, we need to add 20.0.0/16 and save the changes and go back to security group and click on VPC2, security group of VPC2, and edit the inbound rules, add rules, custom TCP 23 is already open. So here we need to give 10.0.0/16 and save the changes. So this will allow the communication of the EC2 machines in each VPC. So now we will open the EC2 machine and see if we are able to telnet to our from VPC1 to VPC2. Now, as a final step, we need to modify our route tables of both the VPCs to route the traffic to the transit gateway. So for VPC1, we need to enter the IP network address of VPC2 and vice versa. So we will quickly see how that can be done. So under VPC, click on route tables and click on the route and click on edit routes and click on add route. Click on enter the IP address. This is VPC1, so we need to enter 20.0.0.16 and it should be transit gateway. So the transit gateway should be there. So and save the changes. And the same should be done on VPC2 as well. Enter the routes, edit the routes, add the route, and it should be 10.0.0.0 0.0.16, and the target should be Transit Gateway, and the Transit Gateway should be selected and click Save Changes. Now we need to connect the EC2 and see if both the EC2s can be communicated together. Let's see that. Now we will see how we can connect both the EC2 machines. So click on the EC2 on VPC1, which have the public IP address, and open it using a putty. And we can take the IP address of the EC2 in VPC2. So if you can see, there is no public IP address. It has got only a private IP address. So take that private IP address and the telnet to it. Telnet IP address, and we have give the port 22. So it is getting connected to the other machine. Also, we can try connecting to the other system using SSH. So you can give the command here and see if both the machines can communicate. So this is connected to the second machine. If you can see the IP address. So we are in the IP address of 10, and we are connecting it to the IP address of 20. So this is how the transit gateway works, communicating both the VPCs. So this concludes the session for transit gateway. Thank you.